The Galactic Council had ruled over thousands of star systems for 12,000 years. They controlled trade routes, military fleets, and the fate of every species they encountered. When a new civilization was discovered, the Council gave them two choices: submit or die. Most species chose to submit. The few who resisted were wiped from existence, their planets burned to ash, their names forgotten. In the year 2247, humanity sent its first ship beyond the solar system. The vessel was called the Starbound Hope, and it carried 300 crew members who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Commander Nathan Cole stood on the bridge as the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a distant star. He was 42 years old, with gray hair at his temples and calm eyes that had seen too much. His wife and two sons waited for him back on Earth. The first alien ship appeared within hours. It was massive, nearly 10 times the size of the Starbound Hope, covered in weapons that humanity had never imagined. Nathan ordered his crew to remain calm. They had prepared for this moment. They had hoped for friendship. The alien vessel belonged to the Volanthi hegemony, one of the founding members of the Galactic Council. The Volanthi were tall creatures with hard shells covering their bodies and 4 arms that ended in sharp claws. Their ambassador, a female named Kethvora, transported aboard the human ship to deliver the Council's message. Nathan met her in the conference room. He offered her a seat and a drink, following the diplomatic protocols that humanity had developed over centuries of dealing with each other. Kethvora refused both. She stood in the center of the room, her dark eyes studying the humans with obvious contempt. "Your species has been cataloged," she announced. "The Galactic Council has reviewed your world and determined your value. You will surrender 70% of your population to serve as laborers in our mining colonies. The remaining 30% will continue to breed replacements. This is the standard arrangement for primitive species." Nathan felt his blood turn cold. Around him, his officers stared at the alien in horror. 70% of humanity. Billions of people, taken from their homes and forced into slavery. And if we refuse? Nathan asked quietly. Kethvora's mandibles clicked together in what might have been laughter. "Then you will be exterminated. Your cities will be destroyed. Your history will be erased. In 100 years, no one will remember that your species ever existed." Nathan looked at his officers. He saw fear in their eyes, but he also saw something else. He saw the same stubborn pride that had driven humanity through countless wars, plagues, and disasters. The same refusal to surrender that had defined their species since the first human stood upright and faced a hostile world. He turned back to the ambassador. "I need to consult with my government. You have 1 hour." Nathan walked to the communication console and opened a channel to Earth. The message would take time to reach home, but the quantum relay system allowed for near-instant communication. He explained the situation to the United Earth Council in simple terms. Then he waited. The response came in 30 minutes. It was a single word, approved by every nation on Earth: refused. Nathan transmitted the message to the Volanthi ship. Then he ordered his crew to prepare for the worst. The Volanthi did not attack the Starbound Hope. Instead, Kethvora simply nodded and returned to her vessel. "You will regret this decision," she said before leaving. But not for long. 6 months later, the Volanthi fleet arrived at the human colony world of New Providence. The planet was home to 2 million people who had left Earth to build a new life among the stars. They had farms and schools and hospitals. They had children who had never seen Earth's blue sky. The Volanthi gave no warning. Their ships appeared in orbit and began firing. The bombardment lasted for 6 hours. When it ended, nothing remained but smoking craters where cities had once stood. The same week, Kepler Station was destroyed. 8 million people died in seconds when Volante weapons tore through the station's hull. The debris drifted through space for months afterward. A silent memorial to the dead dot. Then came Arcadia Prime. It was a farming world, peaceful and green, home to 7 million colonists who grew food for the other human settlements. Admiral Lisa Grant's husband and daughter lived there. Her husband, Daniel, was a teacher. Her daughter, Emma, was 7 years old and loved to paint pictures of butterflies. Lisa was aboard the military vessel Defender when she received word of the attack. She raced to Arcadia Prime at maximum speed, pushing her engines beyond their limits. But she was too late. By the time she arrived, the Volante had already finished their work. She found her husband's body in the ruins of their home. She never found her daughter. The galaxy watched humanity's response with casual interest. The Galactic Council expected the usual pattern: grief, followed by despair, followed by surrender. Every species broke eventually. Some lasted weeks, others lasted months, but they all broke in the end. Humanity did something unexpected. They went silent. Every human ship returned to Earth. Every colony was evacuated. All communication with the outside galaxy ceased completely. The humans simply vanished behind their borders and stopped talking. Ambassador Kethvora reported to the Council that the human problem had solved itself. "They have retreated to lick their wounds," she announced with satisfaction. "When they emerge, they will be ready to accept our terms. The loss of 17 million individuals has taught them their place." The Council accepted her assessment and moved on to other matters. The humans were forgotten, but on Earth, something was happening. In a bunker buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Lisa Grant gathered the greatest scientists and engineers that humanity had ever produced. She stood before them with red eyes and steady hands, a woman who had lost everything except her purpose. "The Council thinks we are mourning," she told them. "They think we are broken. Let them think that. Let them forget about us. Because while they forget, we are going to build something they have never seen before. Something that will change everything." She pulled up a holographic display showing the structure of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light marked Council territory, connected by trade routes and military supply lines. "We cannot match their numbers," Lisa continued. "We cannot match their weapons. If we fight them directly, we will lose. But we are human beings. We do not fight fair. We find another way." She looked at each scientist in turn, seeing the same grief and anger that burned in her own heart. "The project is called Quiet Thunder. And when it is finished, the Galactic Council will learn what happens when you wake a sleeping giant." The scientists nodded. They understood. This was not about revenge. This was about survival. This was about making sure that no human child would ever be murdered by alien weapons again. And so, while the galaxy celebrated humanity's defeat, the real work began. 5 years passed in silence. The Galactic Council conquered 3 more species during that time. They expanded their territory, collected their tributes, and continued their reign without interruption. The humans were mentioned occasionally in council meetings, usually as a joke. "Remember the primitives who thought they could refuse us?" The delegates would laugh. "They are probably eating each other by now." But beneath the surface of Earth, thousands of people worked in secret. They worked in shifts that lasted 16 hours. They slept in small rooms carved from stone. They ate simple meals and rarely saw sunlight. And they never complained, because every single one of them had lost someone to the Volante attacks. Dr. Kevin Park led the physics division. He was a thin man with thick glasses and hands that never stopped shaking since the day his brother died on Kepler Station. His brother had been a doctor, saving lives until the moment a Volante weapon vaporized the medical bay. Kevin kept a picture of his brother on his desk. Every night, before he slept, He looked at that picture and reminded himself why he was doing this. The problem seemed impossible at first. The Council's power came from their ability to move quickly across the galaxy. Their ships could travel faster than light, appearing anywhere within days. If Earth tried to fight back, the Council could simply send overwhelming force before humanity could respond. "We need to take away their speed," Kevin told his team. "If we can stop them from using faster-than-light travel, their empire falls apart. They cannot control thousands of star systems if it takes decades to move between them." His colleague, Dr. Maria Santos, spent 3 years searching for a solution. She was a quiet woman who rarely spoke about her past. Nobody knew that she had been on vacation with her parents on New Providence when the attack came. She had survived only because she was swimming underwater when the first bombs fell. She surfaced to find her world on fire. Maria discovered the answer in an old physics paper that everyone else had dismissed as impossible. The mathematics showed that space-time could be bent in ways that would prevent faster-than-light travel within a specific area. Creating such an effect would require enormous energy, but it could be done. She brought her findings to Kevin at 3 in the morning. He read the paper twice, then looked up at her with tears in his eyes. "This changes everything," he whispered. They built the first prototype in 6 months. It was small, barely larger than a basketball, but it worked. When they activated it, every faster-than-light engine within 2 light years went dark. Ships could still move at normal speeds, but the shortcut through space-time was blocked. Admiral Lisa Grant watched the test from the observation room. She had aged in the 5 years since the attacks. Her hair was completely gray now, and deep lines marked her face. But her eyes were still sharp, still focused on the goal that kept her alive. "How many can we build?" she asked. Kevin checked his calculations. "If we dedicate all our resources, we can produce approximately 1,000 devices within 2 years. Do it." While the scientists built the Quiet Thunder devices, Commander Amanda Price trained the pilots who would deliver them. She selected only volunteers who had lost family members in the attacks. She needed people who understood what was at stake, people who would not break under pressure. The training was brutal. The pilots learned to fly small, fast ships that could avoid detection. They learned to navigate through enemy territory without being seen. They learned to plant devices in locations that would cause maximum disruption. And they learned to do all of this without firing a single weapon. "You are not soldiers," Amanda told them on the first day. "You are ghosts. You will enter Council space without being detected. You will plant these devices at every important location, and then you will disappear. If you do your job correctly, no one will know you were ever there." A young pilot named Danny Reeves raised his hand. He was 23 years old, with a baby face that made him look even younger. His entire family had died on Arcadia Prime. "What if we are detected?" he asked. Amanda looked at him for a long moment. "Then you die, and you take the device with you. Under no circumstances can the Council learn what we are planning." Danny nodded. He understood. They all understood. The Shadow Fleet began its mission in the 3rd year. Small ships slipped out of Earth's solar system one by one, traveling through the darkest regions of space where Council patrols rarely ventured. They moved slowly, carefully, stopping frequently to check for enemy sensors. Danny Reeves flew his ship to the heart of Council territory. His mission was the most dangerous of all. He had to plant a device beneath the Council chamber on Velanth Prime, the capital world of the entire galactic government. Security there was tighter than anywhere else in the galaxy. He spent 6 months studying the planet's defenses. He learned the patrol schedules, the sensor gaps, the maintenance routines. He discovered that cleaning crews entered the chamber through underground tunnels that were not heavily guarded. The Council considered such workers beneath their notice. Danny landed his ship on a moon orbiting Velanth Prime and waited. He waited for 3 more months until he found the perfect opportunity. A scheduled maintenance shutdown that would create a 2-hour gap in the security sensors. He dressed as a cleaning drone operator and walked through the front entrance. His heart pounded so hard he was sure someone would hear it. But no one looked twice at him. He was just another worker, invisible and unimportant. He planted the device in a maintenance shaft directly beneath the council chamber. Then he walked out the same way he came in, returned to his ship, and flew home. By the end of the 4th year, 847 devices had been placed throughout council space. The Shadow Fleet had operated for 3 years without a single detection. Not one pilot had been caught. Not one device had been discovered. On the 5th anniversary of the Arcadia Prime Massacre, Admiral Grant called a meeting of her senior staff. General Marcus Webb stood beside her, a solid man with a scarred face who had fought in Earth's last war decades ago. "The network is complete," Grant announced. "We have devices at every major transit hub, every council shipyard, and every strategic location in their territory. When we activate them, the Council's ability to project power will be destroyed." Marcus looked at the map showing the device locations. "What about retaliation? They still have weapons that can reach Earth." "They do," Grant agreed. "But those weapons require targeting data from their faster-than-light communication network. When we activate Quiet Thunder, their communications will be disrupted too. They will not be able to coordinate an attack." She turned to face the window, looking out at the stars that had once seemed so full of promise. "We have one chance to get this right," she said quietly. "If we fail, humanity dies. If we succeed, we change the galaxy forever." She took a deep breath. "It is time to send a message." The council chamber on Velenth Prime was the most impressive building in the galaxy. Its dome was made of crystal that had been grown over thousands of years, and it sparkled with colors that had no names in human languages. 200 species sent representatives to step beneath that dome and decide the fate of civilizations. On the day that everything changed, the chamber was filled with delegates arguing about trade tariffs. It was a boring discussion, the kind that happened every week. Ambassador Kethvora sat in her seat, barely paying attention. She was thinking about her upcoming vacation to the pleasure worlds of the Outer Rim. Then every screen in the chamber flickered. Every personal device activated at the same time. Every holographic display switched to the same image: a human woman with gray hair and cold eyes, wearing a military uniform covered in medals. Admiral Lisa Grant looked out at the assembled council as if she could see each of them individually. Her voice was calm and steady, without any trace of fear or anger. She spoke like someone who had already won. "5 years ago, you murdered 17 million of my people," she said. "You destroyed 3 of our worlds. You expected us to surrender. You expected us to break. You were wrong." Kethvara stood up, her mandibles clicking with amusement. "The humans have finally emerged from hiding," she announced to the chamber. "How entertaining. Shall we take bets on how long before they start begging?" Several delegates laughed, but others noticed something strange. The human woman's expression did not change. She showed no reaction to the mockery. She simply continued speaking as if Kethvara had not said anything at all. "In the past 5 years, we have placed 847 devices throughout your territory. Each device is capable of creating a permanent disruption. Field that prevents faster than light. Travel within a radius of 3 light years." The laughter stopped. "Your fleets will be stranded," Grant continued. "Your supply lines will collapse. Your empire will break apart into isolated pieces that cannot communicate with each other, cannot coordinate with each other, cannot help each other. You will watch your civilization fall apart, one system at a time, and you will be unable to stop it." High Counselor Vethran leaned forward in his throne. He was ancient, over 600 years old, his scales faded to pale gray. He had ruled the Council for 2 centuries and had seen countless species make threats before being crushed. "You are bluffing," he said. "No primitive species could develop such technology. No primitive species could infiltrate our territory without detection." Grant smiled. It was not a kind smile. Device 773 is located in the maintenance shaft directly beneath this chamber. It was placed there 14 months ago by one of my pilots, who walked through your security disguised as a cleaning worker. Your guards did not look twice at him. Would you like a demonstration? For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights flickered. Every ship in orbit around Velant Prime reported the same thing. Their faster-than-light engines had stopped working. For 3 seconds, the most powerful fleet in the galaxy was helpless. Then the lights returned to normal. The ships reported that their engines were functioning again. The chamber was completely silent. Grant's expression had not changed. She looked at the Council with the same calm patience, as if she had all the time in the universe. "We have not activated the full network," she said. "We are giving you a choice that you never gave us. You will release all enslaved species. You will dismantle your military installations in neutral space. You will recognize the borders of every world you have conquered. You have 30 days to comply." Kethvara recovered first. She stepped forward, her voice filled with outrage. "You dare to give orders to the Galactic Council? We have ruled this galaxy for 12,000 years. We have crushed hundreds of species who thought they could challenge us. And yet here I am," Grant replied simply, "challenging you. We will send every ship in our fleet to destroy your pathetic world. We will burn Earth to ashes and scatter your remains across the void." Grant nodded slowly, as if she had expected this response. "You are welcome to try. But I should warn you, the moment your fleet enters our space, we activate every device in the network. Your ships will drop out of faster-than-light travel and drift helplessly through the darkness. It will take them 200 years to reach Earth at normal speeds. By then, we will have rebuilt everything you destroyed. And we will remember." She paused, letting the words sink in. "You have 30 days. Use them wisely." The transmission ended. The screens returned to their normal displays. The delegates sat in stunned silence, trying to process what had just happened. High Councilor Vethrun broke the silence first. "This changes nothing. She is bluffing. She must be bluffing." But his voice lacked its usual confidence. And when he looked around the chamber, he saw something he had never seen before in the eyes of his fellow council members. Doubt. The next 30 days were chaos. Emergency meetings were held around the clock. Military commanders argued with diplomats. Scientists tried desperately to understand the human technology and find a way to counter it. Spies were sent to search for the devices, but they found nothing. The humans had hidden them too well. Meanwhile, something unexpected was happening among the conquered species. Word of the human broadcast had spread quickly, carried by traders and smugglers who moved between star systems. Species that had been enslaved for centuries heard about the small blue world that had dared to challenge the Council. They heard about the 17 million dead and the 5 years of silence, and the 847 devices that could bring the Empire to its knees. For the first time in generations, they began to hope Agent Carla Vance was embedded in the Council's communication network. She was one of dozens of human spies who had spent years building fake identities and infiltrating enemy systems. She sent regular reports back to Earth, disguised as routine maintenance data. "The Council is divided," she reported on day 15. "The Volanti want war, but at least 40 species are refusing to commit their forces. The Kethari have opened secret negotiations with our diplomatic team. The Varanti are withdrawing their ships from Council space entirely. Admiral Grant read the report in her office, surrounded by screens showing troop movements and diplomatic communications. "And the Volanti fleet?" she asked. "Mobilizing toward our border. 1,200 ships. They believe we are bluffing." Grant closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about her daughter, about the butterflies she used to paint, about the smile that lit up her face whenever Lisa came home from a long deployment. "Then we will have to show them that we are not." She opened her eyes and reached for the communication console. "Contact Lieutenant Commander Jake Hollis. Tell him to prepare for activation of Sectors 7 through 12. The Volanthi want a demonstration. We will give them one they will never forget." The Volanthi First Fleet was the pride of the hegemony. 1,200 warships, each one bristling with weapons capable of destroying entire cities in seconds. They had crushed rebellions on 100 worlds. They had never known defeat. Admiral Kethvora commanded the fleet from the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Dominion. She stood before the main view screen, watching the stars streak past as her ships traveled at faster than light speeds toward human space. Her mandibles clicked with anticipation. "The humans think their little devices can stop us," she announced to her officers. "They are about to learn that the Volanthi do not run from threats. We crush them." Her tactical officer, a young male named Vorth, looked up from his console with uncertainty in his eyes. "Admiral, the intelligence reports suggest that the human technology is real. Perhaps we should proceed with caution." Kethvora turned on him with fury. "Caution? We are the masters of this galaxy. We do not show caution to primitives who barely discovered fire a few centuries ago." She pointed at the view screen. "We will glass their homeworld and hang their admiral's head in the council chamber. That is the only message the galaxy needs to see." Vorth lowered his head and said nothing more. On day 15 of the ultimatum, the Volanthi fleet crossed into the region that humanity had declared as its defensive perimeter. Kethvora smiled as her ships penetrated the invisible border. The humans had made empty threats. Now they would pay for their arrogance stored in a small room on Earth. Lieutenant Commander Jake Hollis watched his display screen with steady hands. He was 35 years old, a quiet man who rarely smiled since his wife and children died on New Providence. He had volunteered for this assignment because he wanted to be the one who pressed the button. He wanted to be the one who showed the Volanthi that humanity was not afraid. His communication unit crackled. Admiral Grant's voice came through, calm and clear. "Lieutenant Commander, you are authorized to activate Sectors 7 through 12. Execute on my mark." Jake took a deep breath. He thought about his wife, Sarah, who used to sing their children to sleep every night. He thought about his son, little Tommy, who wanted to be a pilot just like his father. He thought about his daughter, Grace, who loved to read stories about heroes who saved the galaxy. "Ready." "Admiral," he said. "Execute." Jake pressed the button. 93 Volanthi ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel simultaneously. One moment they were speeding through space, unstoppable and deadly. The next moment they were drifting in the void, their engines dark and silent. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, alarms screamed as every system failed at once. Kethvora grabbed her command chair to keep from falling as the ship lurched to a stop. "What is happening?" she demanded. Vorth's voice shook as he read the damage reports. "Our faster-than-light drive is offline, Admiral. The power core is intact, but we cannot generate a jump field. The same is true for every ship in our forward group." Kethvora stared at him in disbelief. "That is impossible. Restart the engines." "We have tried, Admiral. Whatever the humans have done, it is blocking our ability to enter faster-than-light travel. We are stuck here." The Admiral turned to her communication officer. "Contact the rest of the fleet. Order them to pull back and regroup." "I cannot, Admiral. Our faster-than-light communications are also blocked. We can only use short-range radio. For the first time in her life, Kethvora felt real fear. 93 ships, the finest warships in the galaxy, were now floating helplessly in space. Their weapons were useless without the power from their FTL cores. Their communications were limited to a few light minutes. They could not run, could not fight, could not even call for help. And then, 3 human ships appeared. They were small, barely larger than Volanti shuttles. They approached the drifting fleet slowly, without weapons powered, without shields raised. They looked like toys compared to the massive warships surrounding them. Commander, Rachel Torres broadcast a message on all frequencies. Her voice was calm, almost friendly, as if she were inviting neighbors over for dinner. Attention, Volanti vessels. Your faster-than-light drives have been disabled by our Quiet Thunder network. Your weapon systems, which depend on FTL power cores, are also offline. You are helpless. Kethvora screamed at her communication officer to respond, to threaten, to do something. But what could she say? The human was right. They were helpless. Rachel continued speaking. We are not here to destroy you. We could. Your shields are down, your weapons are dead, and our missiles are armed. One order from me, and 93 ships become floating debris. But that is not why we are here. The 3 human ships began moving among the drifting Volanti vessels. Small pods launched from their cargo bays, attaching themselves to the hulls of the enemy ships. We are delivering supplies, Rachel explained. Food, water, and medical equipment sufficient for a 10-year journey at sublight speed. The nearest habitable planet is approximately 8 light-years from your current position. At conventional speeds, you will reach it in roughly 100 years. 100 years. The words echoed in Kethvora's mind. Every member of her crew would die of old age before they reached safety. Their children would grow up and die. Their grandchildren would be the first to see land again. Your weapons will be permanently disabled, but your life support will remain functional. You will survive. Rachel paused for a moment. This is more mercy than you showed our colonies. The supply pods finished attaching to every ship. The 3 human vessels turned and began to move away. Wait. Kethvora finally found her voice. She pressed the communication button with trembling claws. You cannot leave us here. We will die. Rachel's response was simple. You will have the same chance we had when you attacked our worlds. The chance to survive against the odds. Good luck, Admiral. The human ships vanished into the darkness. Back on Velenth Prime. High Counselor Vethran watched the footage in his private chambers. He saw the mighty Volanti fleet reduced to floating coffins. He saw the tiny human ships delivering supplies with casual efficiency. He saw the face of Admiral Kethvora, twisted with terror and disbelief. His aide stood beside him, pale and silent. They could have destroyed them, the aide whispered. They could have killed every soldier on those ships. Why did they spare them? Vethran understood. That was the worst part. He understood exactly why the humans had shown mercy. Because this is worse, he said quietly. Dead soldiers become martyrs. Living soldiers, drifting helplessly through space for a century, become a warning. Every species in the galaxy will see this footage. They will see that the mighty Volanti could not even scratch a human vessel. They will see that humanity chose not to kill when they had every right to. He turned away from the screen, feeling older than his 600 years. The humans are not trying to defeat us, he said. They are trying to humiliate us. And they are succeeding. The footage spread across the galaxy within hours. Enslaved species watched in secret, hiding their excitement from their masters. Free species discussed it in their councils, wondering if the balance of power was finally shifting. And everywhere, beings who had never heard of Earth began to ask the same question. Who are these humans? And what else can they do? On Earth, Admiral Lisa Grant allowed herself a small smile as she read the reports. The first phase was complete. The Volanthi had been shown that humanity's threats were real. Now came the harder part, convincing the rest of the Council to accept peace without fighting. "How long until the Council responds?" asked General Marcus Webb. "Not long," Grant replied. "They are scared. Scared beings make desperate choices. We need to be ready for anything." She looked at the map showing the locations of all 847 Quiet Thunder devices, spread across the galaxy like a web of invisible threads. "We have 13 days until the deadline," she said. "Let us see what they decide." The final days of the ultimatum were the longest of Lisa Grant's life. She slept only in short bursts, waking every few hours to check the latest reports from her intelligence network. The Council was meeting constantly, arguing about how to respond. Some wanted to surrender immediately. Others wanted to launch a massive attack before humanity could activate more devices. Nobody could agree on anything. On day 25, the Methrani made their move. They were a species that had been conquered by the Council 300 years ago, forced to serve as administrators and bureaucrats for their masters. They had always been quiet, obedient, forgettable. But they had also been watching the Methrani. Delegates stood up in the council chamber and spoke words that had not been spoken in 3 centuries. "We withdraw our support for military action against Earth," he announced. "Furthermore, we call upon all conquered species to do the same. The humans have shown us that the Council can be defied. We will not fight their war for them." The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted at each other, some in anger, others in support. High Counselor Vethran pounded his staff against the floor, trying to restore order, but the damage was done. Within hours, 12 more species announced their withdrawal from Council military operations. Then 20. Then 30. By day 27, more than half of the Council's military forces had refused to participate in any attack against humanity. The Volanthi were furious. Ambassador Kethvora, still officially representing her people despite her fleet's humiliation, demanded that the rebellious species be punished. But the Council no longer had the unity to enforce such punishment. The cracks that humanity had created were spreading faster than anyone could repair them. On day 28, High Counselor Vethran called for a vote. The question was simple: accept humanity's terms or continue fighting. The vote was not unanimous. The Volanthi refused to participate, their ambassador storming out of the chamber in a rage that would become legendary in galactic history. But 63 species voted to accept the human demands. It was more than enough. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Galactic Council had been forced to surrender. Ambassador Paul Martinez represented Earth at the signing ceremony. He was a former teacher who had spent 20 years teaching history to children before the attacks changed everything. His parents, his brother, and his sister had all lived on New Providence. He was the only member of his family who survived, and only because he had been on Earth visiting a friend when the bombs fell. He wore a simple black suit, without medals or decorations. He did not smile as he walked into the council chamber. He did not show any emotion at all as he approached the signing table. High Counselor Vethran waited for him, looking older and more tired than anyone had ever seen him. The ancient leader had ruled the council for 200 years, but today he looked ready to collapse. "This document represents the beginning of a new era," Vethran announced, his voice heavy with defeat. "The Galactic Council recognizes the sovereignty of Earth and all human colonies. All enslaved populations will be released within 1 standard year. Military installations in conquered territories will be dismantled." Paul took the pen and signed his name at the bottom of the document. His hand was steady. His face was calm. But inside he felt a storm of emotions that he could not express. 17 million dead. 5 years of work. 847 devices. And now, finally, peace. After the ceremony, Paul met with representatives from 37 species that had been freed by the treaty. They called themselves the Free Systems Alliance, and they had gathered in a small room to speak with humanity's ambassador in private. A Methrony named Shalveth spoke for the group. He was elderly, with faded green skin and eyes that had seen too much suffering. "We want you to lead us," he said simply. "The Alliance needs a strong voice, someone who can stand against the Council if they try to break the treaty. You have proven that you have the strength and the wisdom. We are asking you to guide us." Paul shook his head slowly. "We did not do this for power. We did this because we had no other choice. We did this to survive." "That is exactly why we trust you," Shalveth replied. "You could have destroyed the Volanthi fleet. You chose mercy instead. You could have demanded tribute or territory. You asked only for freedom. A species that fights for survival instead of conquest is a species we can follow." Paul looked at the faces around him. He saw hope in their eyes, real hope that had been absent for generations. These beings had lived under the Council's rule for centuries, accepting their slavery as the natural order of things. Now they were looking at him, a simple teacher from a small blue world, as if he held the key to a better future. "I will speak with my government," he said finally. "But I cannot promise anything. We are still healing from our own wounds. We may not be ready to lead anyone." Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Grant stood before the memorial wall at Arcadia Prime Cemetery. The names stretched for miles, 17 million people reduced to letters carved in black stone. She found her daughter's name near the center and placed her hand against the cold surface. General Marcus Webb approached quietly, giving her space before speaking. "The treaty is signed. The Volanthi are withdrawing from all conquered territories. The liberation begins tomorrow." He paused. "We won, Lisa." She did not turn around. "Did we? We changed the galaxy. We freed billions of people from slavery. We proved that the Council is not invincible." Webb moved closer, his voice softening. "Your plan worked. Everything you sacrificed, everything we built, it all worked." Lisa finally turned to face him. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. "It does not bring them back. Emma is still gone. Daniel is still gone. 17 million people are still dead, and nothing we do will ever change that." Webb nodded slowly. He had lost people too. Everyone had. "No," he agreed. "But their deaths meant something. Because of what happened here, because of what we did, no human child will ever be taken as a slave. No human colony will ever be destroyed by Council weapons. We built something that will protect our people for generations." Lisa looked back at the names on the wall. Somewhere among them was her daughter, her husband, her reason for fighting. She had not saved them. She could never save them. But she had saved everyone else. "We did not win because we were stronger," she said quietly. "We won because we were patient. Because we were willing to sacrifice everything for the chance to be free. Because we understood something the Council never learned." Webb waited for her to continue. "True power is not the ability to destroy your enemies," Lisa said. "It is the ability to make them understand that destroying you will cost more than they can afford to pay." The sun began to set over the memorial, casting long shadows across the names of the dead. Above them, human ships patrolled the borders of a territory that would never again be threatened. And across the galaxy, species that had spent centuries in chains looked up at the stars with something they had almost forgotten how to feel. Hope. In the Council chamber, now half empty as freed species departed for their homeworlds, High Counselor Vethran sat alone in the darkness. He was thinking about the human ambassador. about the calm expression on the man's face, about the complete absence of gloating or triumph. The humans had won the greatest victory in galactic history, and they had not celebrated. They had not demanded revenge. They had simply asked for freedom and walked away. That Vethran realized was the most frightening thing of all, because a species that did not fight for glory or power, a species that fought only for survival and freedom, was a species that could not be intimidated or corrupted or bought. The humans were not conquerors. They were not empire builders. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors, and the galaxy would never be the same.